Hello and welcome, everybody. How are you doing today? It's Dr. Deb here with our Genius Inside Health Apps demonstration today. I'm so pleased to be here with my good friend Margaret Mead, who's volunteered to allow me to use her body and life blood to scan her in public so that we could see how to use this wonderful technology. I just want to thank all of you for taking time out of your day to jump in and get some learning done. And I hope that each time you visit here, you'll learn a little bit layer after layer of how to actually apply some of the things that we've learned. For those of you who are new, welcome aboard. Many of you may have been aware of some of my past lectures, but if you haven't seen any of the replays, they are available at ilovemygenius.com. And you might want to catch up with some of the last couple of weeks of description of the theory of light therapy and how we would apply it in our system. And I do want all of you to sort of pay close attention to the fact that this is just one demo of many that we're going to do each month. I'm going to try and pick up the Organ of the Month Club and start giving you some demonstrations on how I would problem solve various issues. Remember, this is a disclaimer that we're not here to do anything other than infotainment. I'm giving you information and entertainment on how you can use these technologies from home. I'm not intending to diagnose, cure, ameliorate, or prevent any disease or condition on you. That's up to you to reduce your bioterrain stress so that those conditions may evaporate, but I'm not directly treating or solving any particular disease. And that's why we have to make sure that we don't use technology or language that is out of our scope of practice, okay? Now, most of you are all Genius operators, so I don't have to tell you much about how to get going. But Margaret, we're going to do a virtual live recording on your voice here, okay? Yep. So you're going to speak out loud, and I'm going to hold up my tablet to the computer so you can get your voice print, okay? So take a nice deep breath, get ready to go, and we're going to ask you to say the words, "My name is Margaret," and the vowels A-E-I-O-U. And then if there's something in particular you want to work on, and you're going to wait until that bar hits the 15-second mark, okay? So here we go. 3, 2, go ahead.
A-E-I-O-U. I am Margaret Mary Mead, here and now in the present moment, feeling wonderful and working on my lovely vessel body.
Excellent, success. So folks, for those of you who are amazed at how much technology can work quickly, would you like to go and sit in an hour in a waiting room, take 10 tubes of blood, wait 3 weeks for the results? Or would you like to have the instant success of having a very accurate voice print give you some basic harmonics of your voice that allows us to really get a picture of your total umbrella view of you in a very small space of time? Now we do this section button here called the voice harmonics, which then takes your voice and it replays it into a digital format. And remember from the lectures, I told you a digital wave can be flipped upside down and backwards to be a negative wave. So we can make an image of you, then a mirror image of you, and then a mirror image of the mirror image to flip you back and forth. So that's the benefit of digital mathematics, right? We can use a plus sign or a minus sign. So in this case, we're going to make a imprint. Now the computer's making an imprint of her voice. And it's highlighting where she's more overstrained or understrained so that the computer is actually already detecting where the highs and lows might be out of the normal bell curve. Okay, the next thing we do is we say continue. We've used a voice analysis. Now we're going to go another step further and say, what about a face? Can we analyze the face for any unusual auras, holes in the aura, extra brain engrams, like a big moldy black, interference with your aura? Is it aligned? Are all the chakra colors there indicating good minerals? So let's begin the analysis of her face. And that's complete. So now we've looked at 3 different ways to evaluate her body. Another way we can do this is to actually ask a physical affirmation. So Margaret, if you will, if you have a favorite affirmation, or I might just write one in there for you.
You go right ahead, Deb. You know me very well. You know my different things that I've been working on.
So
So
let's just use a general standardized signature here, one that happens to have a lot of benefit, in my opinion, on many people, is the frequency. All frequencies are transmuted to love. With, I'll just say, perfect 528 hertz DNA repairs, okay? For any deviations from normal, say, or whatever you want to say. Now you could put in anything you want, right? My my diabetes has disappeared and my pancreas works perfectly. So you can use this. Now, this is one of the few technologies most people don't understand about the Genius program. Pardon me. We're not only taking your actual vibrations from your voice, but any word whatsoever that has been written into this program is also being used through a voice holographic patterning program. So every letter in every word has a frequency. Every word in every sentence has a frequency. So even if you didn't know the frequencies of whatever bug you wanted, but you knew the name of the bug you had, you can just write, my body is free of Helicobacter pylori. The computer will automatically pick up the word syllables and make a frequency out of that if you didn't know what the actual frequency is. So this is the versatility of this device. It's pretty amazing. Now, I would like to mention to you newbies that the computer automatically comes with a mind, a body, and a biofield library built in as the standard when you buy your device. You can, however, get extra libraries added into this situation if you have paid for some extra add-ons. So for instance, recently we've been talking about the really brilliant little work with Denise Armenio and myself to make a bioterrain library. So I've imported that library into here by going up onto this 3-bar section in the top corner. And when we open that, it just opens up to the word libraries here. And you can import any libraries that you've had, okay? Another trick I learned recently is the accessory button has an actual physical, I haven't tried it yet, maybe we should just try that. It has a physical description of animated downloads, okay? You see that? It says a 3D animated download.
yeah.
And that allows you to see the body in 3D, kind of like an interesting graphic. Oh, I need an activation code. Okay, I'll have to go back and get that later then. But I would strongly recommend that if you're wanting to demonstrate to your clients what their body looks like, that 3D body scanner gives them a sense that something's really happening here. You know, a lot of people have trouble understanding that this voice and print can go right into your reticular activating system and talk to your body. But when they see an image of the body itself, it may be a little more convincing to them, okay? So I've added in my library called the Bioterrain Library so that when we analyze her, we will get the basic libraries plus my supersonic biofeedback parasite detecting library, and then we'll get a little bit more detailed information, okay? Now, I'm not sure how, V is asking me, is that a very expensive item? I really don't know. I'll have to check that out. I just don't know the price off the top of my head. So let's take a moment and we're going to watch how quickly this biofeedback computer can analyze 10,000 items and at a very high accuracy rate. So we begin the analysis down here on the red bar. 1, 2, 3, and done. Wow. Are you kidding me? Me as the doctor waiting all night long for laboratory tests came in love, fell in love with this device the moment that I saw that, okay? So it does tell you a little bit of instructions as you go in case you don't know how to use the device. There will be some pop-ups, at least at first, to help you guide yourself to self-analysis, okay? Now, when you see the final library presented, the computer will stack the 4 sections of body, mind, spirit, or the library in the order of priority upon which where the nuggets of gold will be found the most. So she is pointing to my bioterrain library right off the top as her #1 item. So I can probably predict that she's been suffering with some metabolic challenges of not being able to lose weight, even though she's menopausal. It hasn't really come down to a full body reduction when she's detoxed or other things. So maybe there's a metabolic challenge or a parasite that's blocking the insulin resistance that's helping her lose weight. So that was one of the topics that we wanted to work on today is in our discussion of digestion. However, I want you to know that other things are showing up in red zones. And what is a red zone? Well, on a bell curve, there is a median average score, okay? And that would be somewhere between, in this green zone here, somewhere between 150 and 450, I think it is. But if somebody's outside of that normal range, one standard deviation is in yellow, and then 2 standard deviations or 3 standard deviations way out on the ditch on the side of the edge of the bell curve would be in red, meaning it's far outside the high end, or if it's in the low end, it'll be in the blue color. So we're looking as therapists to see where the highs and lows are that need to be balanced towards the center. That's what we're aiming for, is homeostasis rectification. Now, I can do a couple things, and what I've taught the class and before, Margaret, and I'd like to remind you of this, is that if you have an empty tank, how can you ask that car to do a couple laps for you? It's better to start the very first moment of your session by actually giving some what I call primer of minerals, hydration, psychic protection, set up the oral field around you like a basket upon which we can throw other new frequencies in that won't just leak right out. So you can do this in many ways. The fastest way is to hit this button at the top, Quick Zap, will automatically do all the reds and blue zones for you. Or you could technically drag them up onto the blue zone one by one, okay? So if I wanted to drag electrical sensitivities, and you've been doing a lot of therapies over the weekend, so you might have that, and body systems may be red. But what if I didn't want to take the time to do all that drag and dropping? By just hitting this Quick Zap button, it automatically selects the red zones and the blue zones at the very bottom, okay? Now, the blue zones are the more stubborn areas that have been more chronically depleted and tend to be more rough to get settled because they've been there longer or tougher. But generally speaking, if you just hit that Quick Zap, and you can use this little drop down menu here. Oh, I'm using the wrong keyboard there. If you use that drop down menu, just put it down to maybe 3 minutes or 1 minute. And then you could add on with the blue key, the red items or the blue items into there, and you're going to see that the computer is self-selecting for you. Now, the point here is that you don't have to be a doctor to use this technology. You're using an alphabeticalized system of diseases that vibrate with certain fingerprints, and these fingerprints are showing up out of the normal range. So we can take a moment and just give her 2 minutes of this primer. Now, personally, I never like to do the primer without doing some minerals, because the minerals are what are the conductivity of the body, right? So you may want, even though she doesn't show that she's having a lot of mineral deficiencies there, I would ask you to scroll down and look at where are the minerals here. Just a second. Oops.
I saw them a second ago. You just passed them.
Yeah, sorry, I just passed it there. It was under, I'm having trouble finding, there it is here, minerals. Now, she says she's normal, but when we open it up, you can see that there are high and low minerals missing. Now, if you want to have a great session, I do the reds, the blues, the yellows, and the greens, because who knows which mineral they need in the buffet of life. They might need a tickle of everything, and it doesn't harm you to give extra minerals usually, because there's very few minerals in the entire world that get over-represented. The only ones that usually get too high are when the parasites take the zinc down, the copper can look high, or the boron can look high during thyroiditis. Very few times do we ever see high vitamins or high minerals. So let's hit that start button for 2 minutes. And it's got 31 items. Now, you might want to say, well, look I don't want to just stop there, because she may need psychic protection. So no matter what, I always go down to the spiritual protection module, okay? I drag that up there. I add
Deb,
on
I'm going to interrupt you just for 1 second. There was a message saying that some people are trying to get in.
Okay, I'll just admit them all. Thank you.
Sorry for interrupting.
Maybe I'll have to make you co-host next time, Margaret, so you can admit them while I'm chatting away.
Okay, thanks.
Okay, welcome to all you newcomers. We're just starting a session on Margaret, and we're working through how do you set up, first of all, a session that's the most efficient for the greatest time constraints using the best technique. The best technique is fill the body with an IV bag first before you ask it to run around the track. So I'm adding in the minerals, the meridians, and some of the aura protection in this little upper tray in order to get the body's electrical field open in a receptive state, if you will, okay? Now, I would like to mention to you that many times people use the Nogier frequencies because it tells you which organ is the most troubled. So if you do want to do that, again, you can add in the red items, the yellow or the blue items if there's organs that are stressed. So now I have also noticed that the neurotransmitters are low and the brain EEG is a bit tired. Now, if I go too long on this, I'm just going to hit it on for 2 minutes now. Let's just get started. Now, Margaret's going to be hearing this through the audio here. I don't know if you can even hear that, Margaret. But while we're doing that, I want to give you a demonstration of the biophotonic wristband, which instead of sending these signals to her acoustically, can you still hear me talking, Margaret?
I can.
Okay, so we can actually send that signal and transduce it from a audio signal into an optical signal using the Insight PEMF LED wand on the bracelet, which has 20 LEDs. So if I turn that on through the, I had to charge it up. I don't know if you can see that, but there's 3 buttons on the top that show that it's charged up. When you turn on that button in the top corner right here, it opens up a little blue dot that says Bluetooth, ready to receive Bluetooth. So I can open up my tablet and go to connections Bluetooth, and all this audio signal will be driven into the wristband, and then it'll be giving her light, PEMF, and sound therapy simultaneously. So this is why I strongly encourage all of you to consider this new piece of technology we're releasing towards the end of this month, because it actually has the 3 elements all in one. It's easy to use, it's mobile. You can move 50 feet away from this with Bluetooth, meaning you could be mobile and doing things around your house while you're still getting therapy. And it has the ability to give PEMF pulsations of magnetism, light, and sound. So you get a triple hit of combination therapy. Now, after 2 minutes of light therapy, the oxygen doubles in the bloodstream. It's so positively charged that it negatively charged with all these negative electrons flying into you, that any stickiness between the red blood cells that's clumped together like rouleau formation, which lowers oxygen, would be easily shed and give you a bigger flow, a pool of flow. So on that note, I'm just, for the sake of maybe making it a little less noisy, let's just show you how I would do that. You go up to the cog wheel up in the corner here, and you open up that cog wheel, and it says here, what would you like to do? You open connections, and I go to my Bluetooth here, right? And I turn my Bluetooth on. And it says capture the device. So this device is an MH-M18. So I click on that device. Oops, I keep using my regular keyboard, sorry. And then it's saying I'm connecting to the wristband. And if you don't have a blue light, a little teeny tiny blue light there flashing, then it won't be able to pick you up, okay? So it says I couldn't connect. So go back to the wristband and hit that little button there. Can you see that? Put that button on. And you have to unplug it from the charger to do so that it'll show up there. Let me try that connection again, sorry. Try the connection again. Oops. I probably didn't put the button on fast enough there, sorry. So I see this little blue flashing light now. I don't know if you can even see it, it's so tiny. Okay, so now, says still couldn't connect. Why not? Sorry, folks, having a little technical issue there. Now, the only other problem that I one time had is that if it's connecting to audio, sometimes you have to turn the audio off to redirect it to the visual, right? but now it does says it's connected. Okay. So as long as you got that connection there on the Bluetooth, now when I do any therapies on her, we're going to go and show you that now. The light wand will start flashing instead of having an acoustic program coming out there. So let's go back here. So now I've done the basics, okay? We've set her up with an IV bag of goodies. We've created a powerful field around her, right? Now what do we want to do? Well, I'd like to look deeper. Now for some of you newbies, it's worthy of me going back a step just to orient you. If you use the mini tray up top, you can use the timer up there for any number of items. I regularly want to remind you that the computer uses about 96 frequencies for each item. So if you put more than 150 items on this tray, each being given 100 items individually, then you're going to have 1,500 items, and you can't fit 1,500 items in there in 2 minutes flat, right? So if you're going to do a very long session with a lot of items, I would rather you do several chunks of items of 125 items for 3 minutes, and then another 125 on the highs or 125 on the lows, or a longer extended time period, the more items that you have on the tray, all right? Now, when you go up into the secondary issues, notice that each one of these items has a chevron beside it. That down arrow key allows you to see that there's a sub menu beside any of these items. So if you wanted to look at any of these items one by one, you can select the line and it'll tell you the sub menu underneath it. Okay, so there is her brainwave patterns. So I could go again, give me all the brainwave patterns. The one that relaxes you the most and is the best for learning is the theta waves, which opens up your brain for receiving. Now, of course, you can all do any of these, all of these, none of these, some of these, whatever you prefer, right? But I personally like the brain to be working at full tilt. Now, secondly, what if I didn't want to start therapy too much without checking a before and after aura? So I wanted you to take a very close attention to the aura picture because it's the only one that doesn't have a chevron. It has another program buried underneath it. So if we go to the aura, it's going to say, would you like to begin the analysis of the aural field? Select begin the analysis. So I begin analysis on the red bar at the bottom. And now it's looking for any electrical field holes, extra bars in her, extra changes. Now, isn't that an interesting color of purple, suggesting that her crown chakra is pretty wide open? She's a very spiritual woman, but she also may have pituitary and pineal gland overexcited, or maybe she's recently used a device to stimulate her brain. But you also see that there's certain little nuggets of pockets of something that's a little bit disturbed and not an even distribution of color. So that might mean that there's a problem in that area of the body around her throat might be an issue. So she's recently had a sore throat. She had, she's been working on cleaning out parasites with me. So maybe there's something going on there. Now, the only reason I do this is to make sure that when we come later, we want to be able to see how well she's improved. Margaret, if you want to take a screenshot of that, go ahead. And you can also print this out or send it by email to a person, okay? Actually, I have never tried that before, shall I? Let's try and send an email to her. Share it as a link to my Gmail, to MMM 2020, is it?
No, it's actually 2010.
2010 at Gmail.
Yes.
So folks, the point of this is that, people really like to have personalized feedback. They like to see where they've been and where they're going. So the more you can actually give a person some feedback or reports, that just verifies and legitimizes your work, okay? Now, so we've done the aura. We're going to go back now. So I've kind of looked around at what she needs basically. Then I opened up her aura, and now we're ready to increase our delivery into the vessel, okay? Her vessel requires some balancing. but which to balance and how much and how long. If I sat there and did each one of these items one by one and pulled and dragged and drag and drop, drag and drop, drag and drop, I'd probably be here for an hour and two. So instead of that, I want you to learn about this button at the top called System Overview. And it takes the submenu of everything that you've ever done and put them all on one gigantic spreadsheet with all of the items that are all in red. All of the items all the way down here, if I can scroll down. Like, look how many items in red here now. Margaret, let's just quickly tell you that St. John's wort, an antioxidant, gallbladder troubles and insulin, low cobalt, vitamin B12, looking for the lung meridian, stomach meridian, gallbladder meridian, suma, the purgative herb, vessel 8, dandelions. Now, I don't know about every single herb on this list, folks, but her body is craving it because whatever frequency that herb is matching the frequency of whatever bug or distortion she has. So the body uses mathematics, and notice that some herbs are +1, +2, or +3, adding into energy into your body. And some herbs are -1, -2, or -3. They suck poisons out of the body, like milk thistle will drain off your alcohol and poisons out of the liver. So it's not for me to know the entire textbook of herbology to be able to use this machine. The mathematical integers are telling us where she needs it. I'm not telling her, her body's telling me. And in this way, it's critical that you realize that you're not practicing medicine without a license. You're not telling her something and diagnosing a de novo illness. Her body is telling you it's pattern recognition and vibrational patterns. So you're not diagnosing, you're following her informational lead, okay? That's a very important distinction. So I don't want to hear you people telling people, oh, I see you have diabetes and you have this disease. No, you say your body's reaction scores are indicating there's a high probability that there is a stress in this area, okay? You just have to be very careful of your language. Now, if you hit that general button at the bottom as well, and you click that a second time, you'll see all the blue zones at the bottom and get a handle on where she's really stuck. The lowest score is pancreas and gallbladder, lack of tyrosine for dopamine, kidney meridian, biofield, and some bacterial infection giving an energetic disturbance. So we might want to look. And now, do you want to spend an hour me debating this with you, or would you rather me just do something about it?
Do something
right?
about
Everybody's just going to say, well, can you deal with it? So how we deal with this is we can sort out everything that's in the red and green zones, and anything below 100 score, you're going to be pretty nervous about as something that you're going to have to maybe work on a couple of weeks in a row. It's not likely to go away in the very first time. But I'm going to go down now to the second tray. So we looked at the quick tray for getting her primed. Then we looked at the deep dive of the general overview to see where she's stuck. Now let's take the bottom tray, which is allowing us to add. I'm going to hit the add key. Give me the red and the blue items. I could take yellow if I wanted. And I'm going to add all of those down here onto the bottom tray. That's 499 items. Maybe it's a bit too many, wouldn't you say? So let's take a quick second. I might just go back and clear the tray, and that's a bit much, okay? Especially when you use that general overview, there's so many items on the tray. So I'm going to just go down there and hit that button, clear all. Do you see it right here in the bottom corner? I'm just going to clear that for a minute because it's a bit overwhelming. Let's just do the red items for now, okay? So now we got 120 items. That's more reasonable, okay? And because this machine works so quickly, 3 minutes on all the reds, 3 minutes on the yellows, and 3 minutes on the blues is still an awful lot of energy going into the body. So what I want to show you now is I'm just going to, for the sake of demonstration, move this timer down here. The bottom timer also can be moved down to 2 or 3 minutes. 7 minutes is enough to kill almost every bug in the world. 3 minutes is enough to pretty much stun every bug in the world. And if it's a very severe bug like Candida, tapeworm, severe chronic funguses, usually they take 17 minutes because they live in the lymph tissues. The heart circulates the blood in 7 minutes for systemic infections, but the lymph takes 17 minutes to go around the body and come back as pumped by the diaphragm. So a 17-minute is a reasonable time frame, but I'm not going to spend the whole time on our demo today doing 17 minutes on her, okay? But what I do want to show you is that once you've got all those items on that tray, okay, you just hit the arrow key to bring the tray back up. I'm just trying to get rid of that little box. Okay. So now what is going to happen now? We're going to ask the computer to analyze that high and low tray. Instead of treating every one of them, I'd like the computer to prioritize what is the most important areas to treat. So the bottom arrow key, do you see that little play button at the very bottom here? That's going to invoke these 120 items on that tray to analyze those. Okay, so it brings up a secondary analytic program. And if you begin the analysis, it'll resort everything in that huge list of 120 items. And it's going to give us comparatively, where are they all high and low? Remember, I've already given her a primer, so some of them may have switched around places already. Now at this point, you can hit select all of them if you wanted, and every single item on this list will be delivered for however many minutes that you wish. Okay, in our case, we've set the timer for 2 minutes, it looks like. Okay, so what if I play that for 2 minutes? And when we do that, what we will get is a rectification of how well did she correct herself on these items. And the easy ones to correct will suddenly shuffle down in the deck to the mid zone and turn up in the green zones. But the ones that are very severe, once I've poked the tiger, they may actually rise up to the top and get even more dramatic. Or some of the blue zones that were deficient may suddenly now come up into the green zone of normalcy. Say you were low in zinc, and then I killed parasites. Well, maybe the zinc level might correct. So it's not for you to debate these hundreds of chemistry equations, which I could debate you with on every one of them. I'm not going to. You're going to allow the body's natural intelligence to say, I'm craving this, and you're going to absorb it into the dry sponge or not. Now, why is that not going to my wristband? Just a second here. I hear you still hear it. I'm not quite sure if it's not working because I've got my whole camera working on this. My camera for the Zoom room is possibly interfering with this output. I'm not quite sure why. So you'll forgive me if I don't completely get that correct at this moment. I'm going to have to just try one more time actually to sync it up. Okay, how you feeling, Margaret?
I feel great.
Do you? Okay.
Yeah, relaxed actually.
Now, is there anything that you in particular know? I mean, I've got 120 items on you that I could work on, but what is the thing that you particularly want to work on?
Well, it's always my thyroid, because I do have a little bit of a thyroid that's underactive. And then, of course, my weight, of course, is a part of that as well. So those are my two things. Other than that,
okay.
not
Well,
much.
the thyroid regulates minerals, which regulate metabolism, which regulate weight loss. But the thyroid is interfered with lack of vitamin D and or parasites that also like to steal your minerals. Okay.
Okay.
So when we see that 2 minutes, she's already corrected 25% in 2 minutes. Now, obviously, if I set that a longer play period, we could get more improvements. Okay. Now, I do want to remind you that there is another area that makes people stuck, and it's called functional zone considerations. If she has a shock to the system somewhere that's preventing her from receiving good energy, you can sometimes find out what is the functional emotional shock or trauma that's stressing her. Oops, I forgot to select an item. So I'm going to look at your insulin there, okay? And see what is the problem with your insulin by, oops, pardon me. I hit the play button too quickly. Show the insulin level and ask for the functional zone. What is the emotional trauma or shockedness, or what has impaired you emotionally of the zones of psychology, geophysical stress, microorganism, tissue regeneration, biochemical, immune interference, or psychogenic zone? Now, of course, you could do all of these by adding them all to the tray if you wanted. So I could, I could put add on all the red and or yellow or blue items and get them all. But of course, you also have always the ability to jump down the rabbit hole to deeper and deeper messages. So say, for instance, the microorganism is very low. What if I double click on that? Oops, sorry. Microorganism. Show me what that microorganism is doing to make her so stubborn that she can't get out of the ditch. There may be a psychological attachment, some physical evaluation, and here we go. It says there is a fungus and a parasite that needs further evaluation that's causing her problems. So let's go to the plus key, and we'll add those items of the red zone into our drag and drop. Now there's a second one there that might be blocking her. Let's go back just another one there, the red zone of interference, okay? So let's take a look at that. What's interfering with her healing? And the reason I do this early on in the session is you could be working for hours and hours and miss the boat on some blockage, and you're never getting the energy into her because she's in a geopathical bad zone or she's had some problem here. Mercury poisoning causing thyroid blockage, right? The mercury is the same periodic table of elements as iodine. So mercury will always block your iodine keyholes and make you a chronic subtherapeutic or subclinical thyroid problem. So I'm going to add on that onto her red tray because these are the areas that are blocking her progress. Now I'm going to go back a step. Are you following with me okay, you guys? You tracking all right? Now I do see immune is very tired, okay? Let's just take a quick peek at that. And we double click on the immune system. Now you could do all of them, you could do some of them. And when you're at home, of course, you're not paying me $150 an hour, so take your time and do whatever you want. But if you're doing this as a clinical scenario for other people, then you're going to want to be as time efficient as possible so that they don't get frustrated or overwhelmed. So you don't necessarily have to do all this explaining that I'm doing. You can just say to people, I see you have a little red zone or a stress zone on your environment or your vaccine or your organ. So do you mind if we just add those onto the list? And everybody's going to say, of course, right? Now, so rather than going on to every one of these, I'll just go back to the main menu now because we already loaded all of them, okay? Now, in addition, we're going to set up this analysis again now, okay? Because I've added on, actually, shall I go back a step? Let me just go back one step. I just wanted to show you that now we have 132 items on our tray, okay? And so I'm going to go again and do another quick balance for 2 more minutes on that. But now I've got the blockages in there, right? And I've also got her psychological and her microbiological areas, and we're starting to hone down on why is that insulin so stuck? It appears to be an infection and mercury poisoning. Now, here's a point of lecture that you guys all need to know. Yeast is a scavenger that eats metals. So wherever you have a mercury poisoning, let's just say here's the mercury in my pen, the yeast will eat up the mercury and sequester it from your brain. Now you're going to go along and suddenly go, well, the mercury is blocking my thyroid and my low thyroid's causing my body to be low metabolically. So I'm having overgrowth of yeast in me. But if you try to kill all the yeast without removing the mercury, you're still going to go back to the same place where you started. Now, if I burst all the yeast, it's going to explode and release all this mercury into the system that it has been sequestering. And after I kill the yeast, she could even be in more trouble, okay? So we have to remember that doing a little bit of a teeter-totter, get the metals out, get the poisons out, get the minerals in to get the poisons out, clean the liver, clean the organs. It's kind of like this teeter-totter where you have to work your way back and forth by getting some of these things out of the way, okay? So now I'm going to select all again, just for the sake of argument. I mean, you could select just the high zones, okay? You could select just the low zones, or you could select just the high and low zones. Okay, let's just take, for the sake of argument, let's put just the high zones out there for 2 minutes, okay? Now, the reason I'm going to try and show you how to partition this down a bit is that for newbies, I want you to learn how to use these dissection trays so that you get really good at your technology. You can never make a mistake with this device pretty much. It's got built-in security and it's not going to overdose you. And you're going to start seeing that at some point you're going to feel saturated, then stop. After 60 to 90 minutes, your body can't take much more water into a dry sponge. I'm just going to see if I can get that connection going one more time. Sorry. Let's try that. Connections. Maybe I'm in the middle of treatment and it won't allow me.
Ah, I can hear it now, Deb.
Can you?
Yeah.
Okay. Well, for some reason, I'm wondering if I should be turning off my Wi-Fi during a Bluetooth. I'm just going to try that. Maybe Claire or Connie is in the room. You might want to jump out of your mic and tell me if I'm doing something incorrect here regarding, it says the device is connected, but I'm still hearing it through my tablet. So when I turned off the Wi-Fi, you all started hearing it? That's a little bit of a learning curve for myself as well, folks. So let me just look at the chat bar here. I heard it before turning off the Wi-Fi. Okay, well, I might just have to reset that. I'm not quite sure what the issue is here, but Connie, if you can see what I'm doing wrong, let me know. Okay, so now we finally get our, shall we try that connection one more time? Just let me do one more try. One device is connected, but for audio. So, am I supposed to turn off my audio to go to visual is my question to you guys. Sorry, I'm teaching something that is sort of a little bit out of connection here today. I apologize for that. But in general, so we got an excellent result here, okay? And we see 28% improvement in 2 minutes. Now, you can imagine that if I left that for 7 to 17 minutes, it would probably be considerably more, okay? Now, you can also alternate this and say, I would like to rescan at the top and see after I knocked out those top items, if I rescan, does the computer give me a better set of reshuffling as to what now is on the top of the list? And now we see instead the triple heater, dandelion, gallbladder, endocrine repair, wheat allergy, small intestines, lack of vitamins, heavy metal toxicity. So of course, I'm very interested in those highs. And or for the sake of argument, let's do another 2 minutes here. Now, I'm just going to take a tiny second and reset that light wristband one more time. So you turn it on with the one button. Can you see that? You turn it on so the lights are shining. Then the blue dot is Bluetoothing. Then you pull down the top of your tablet to get to the settings button. Go over to connections. Go over to Bluetooth. And this device is connected for audio. So I think that we need to ask our supervisors, Connie or such, am I supposed to turn off my audio in order to flip this into optical? This is the one thing that I'm not totally certain on, okay? Make sure you want to connect to this pairing device.
Hey, Dr. Deb, how are you?
Hi there, who's calling?
This is Connie.
Hi, Connie, help me
I
out here, darling.
apologize. I'm late to the party today. So your device is obviously not connecting. Are you holding the power button down on your PEMF until the red light?
Blue. It is
right. And
the light is on and it is flashing.
So your red lights are flashing?
My red light, no, the blue light. It's a blue
Okay,
light.
go ahead and start your scan and then hold the button down until the red lights flash.
So when I do this, you can see that it says connected for audio, right? My Bluetooth is connected for audio. But do I have to do something different to turn off the audio so it goes optical?
I think it's just not connecting your PEMF. If you'll hold the button down until the red lights flash on your wrist. Hold it.
Yeah,
Keep
they are
holding it down.
flashing. Yeah, they did flash, but then the blue light disappeared.
Okay, just hold it down for a couple seconds.
So the light flashes and the blue light's flashing now.
Perfect. Okay, now go ahead and looks like
And
we're
do I
connected.
leave the audio button on there?
I'm
For some reason, I got it to work last week by turning the audio off, but I'm afraid to do so.
I would turn it off, yes, because you don't want any audio. You want it to run through directly through the device.
Okay, so I turn the audio off then in that case.
Yeah, let's try that.
Okay,
And then go ahead and start your frequencies and see if your bracelet, your wristband lights up red.
okay, great. Thank you for that. This is just a little bit of important things for all of us as we're using new technologies to go. So it does say it's paired with that device now.
Perfect.
So let's just go back to our scan and see if this last setting will flip on to, let's play it one more time. So let's just do one more screen of a rescan while we're sitting here, girls. All right, and now let's go back after all our highs. Play for 3 minutes. So my Wi-Fi is off and my audio is off, but I still hear it.
Are the red lights going off?
No, they're not.
Sorry, my dogs are barking.
So should I continue to touch anything or?
No, I want you to go ahead and put your finger on the power button and hold it down again,
Okay. It's turned off now. Should I hold it again?
please. And don't let up until you get the red LEDs flash.
You can see it's starting to flash on my wrist, but it's only flashed once. I haven't had this trouble before, but I'm not sure if I'm doing something because I'm using this to broadcast on.
Oh, it might be part of the Zoom
Because I'm in the
interference.
Zoom room, maybe I'm actually broadcasting out through the audio of the Zoom.
Yeah, we may need to test that behind the scenes.
Okay, well, you do see 1 or 2 lights there. I just saw them flash once or twice, but so it seems connected, but it's a little bit tricky, folks. So I'm sorry to irritate you on the first day of demoing, but it's just going to take us a little bit of secure understanding. Like I do see it flashing now there. Okay. Well, for the sake of argument,
Are you running the frequencies? Press play.
I'm not running them right now, so it's stopped.
Okay, and now press play and let's see what we get.
If I hit play now,
Yes.
okay,
And Claire has entered too to help out.
okay. So we're still hearing the audio. I'll hold on I see 1 red flash there.
Yeah, I saw that one.
But
I don't hear any audio on my end.
Yeah, I don't see it like flashing as much as I was expecting. The Bluetooth is I have a feeling it might be something to do with the Zoom room because I've been having this work fine at home. I'm not quite sure what the issue is there, folks, but I don't want to detract from our visit today. Rescan and hit play button on the Genius. Yeah, that's right, Jackie.
If you've
So-
got the PEMF connected to the Genius, you will not hear the audio
Yeah,
because
but
it
we're
comes
hearing
direct.
the audio, so it must not be connected.
Yeah. So you're hearing it, so it's not connected. So Bluetooth, is that on the iPad?
The Bluetooth is on my Android and it's turned on and grabbed this, but we're wondering if maybe because of the Zoom room, it's redirecting using the audio of the Zoom room.
Could be.
I'm not sure. Well,
Yeah,
folks, well, I will meet up with Claire afterwards or Connie, and we'll see if we can sort that out for you. But in general, it's usually pretty obvious that as soon as you Bluetooth it, the audio stops and the lights start flashing on the wrist to transduce that signal into biophotonic signal. Okay. So you'll forgive me if I haven't quite got that sorted out today. I'll just I might actually just, towards the end of our session, maybe I'll just deboot this tablet off of the Zoom room and see if it works just by ourselves there. Okay, so generally speaking, you're going to do this multiple times as you work on either the highs, the lows, or a combination of such. And if any of these areas continue to get more and more stuck, you can replay them for longer number of minutes or add on other elements into the mix, okay? Now you've done the basic progressive insights and you've rescanned her once, twice. On the third scan, you might want to do the low areas, because the low areas are the things that are more stubborn, that are more exhausted, and they may be holding back the production of the top end of the items because they're more chronically depleted, shall we say, okay? I'm trying that red button, but I'm not getting success. You can see the light flashing just once, but it's not continuing. So I apologize, folks, but we'll get the kinks out of this. I'll be demonstrating this for a few more weeks, and we'll make sure that we got the exact combination of broadcasting at the same time as Bluetoothing, at the same time as treating. It might be, for a little tiny tablet, that might be just maybe too much at the same time. I don't know. Now, Margaret, how are you coping with all of this? You feeling all right?
I feel great. Yeah.
Okay. Now, I'm going to take a sideways leap down the pathway of bioterrain, folks, because her insulin is off. She says she has high pathogens. Something's bothering her in terms of yeast and fungus that's interfering. She's got heavy metals. So we really do want to support the main issue at hand, even though nobody ever just has one little issue, right? Nobody ever just has one thing wrong with them. They have a constellation of an issue like a thorn, plus the body's defenses around the thorn, like swelling, edema, histamine, allergies, emotions connected to that injury or whatever. So it's always wise to not get stuck down one rabbit hole when you have this fantastic repertoire of a buffet of items that you can use. It's worthy of you looking around. Now, normally we'd like to see 20% improvement, but if you use a good primer for a good 7 or 9 minutes, you're going to get more like 50% improvements. And if you work on these technical skills for another half hour, most people can get considerable improvements even after one session. All right. Now, so let's just recap. At the beginning, we came up and we used the quick zap bar to give her like an IV bag of primer. Then we looked at the progressive insights to see where her highs and lows were. Then we added all those progressive insights into the bottom tray where it dissected them into resorting them, prioritizing them between each other. And then we tried the play button for a couple of minutes, 3 times for the highs, the lows. And now maybe we might want to go back out and see where else we can dive down this rabbit hole, okay? And remember, I'm shortening these sessions because we're in a demo situation here. So at home, you could do this as long as you wished. But of course, when we first saw her, her number 1 library came up saying that there was some problem. Oops, what happened there? And so let's open the library. And we have a couple libraries in here, and I want you to look at the Bioterrain Master Branch Library, which is, in my opinion, my life's work in one big, beautiful catalog, okay? It's basically everything that I've learned that causes people to get off the rails that are often invisible to medical doctors who don't have the blood test for 10,000 parasites. They don't have the time, the interest. They don't recognize the patterns. They don't recognize the hidden bugs. Some bugs that are very semi-infected. So for instance, say you had a bladder infection at 10 to the 3 number of bugs in the urine. Well, the medical profession doesn't diagnose it as a urinary tract infection till it hits 10 to the 5 number of bacteria per milliliter of urine. So does that mean that you don't have an irritated bladder just because you're not fully infected? So this computer picks up the DNA level of the most subtle injuries or infections at a very, very subtle level, okay? So you may not even think that you have a plantar's wart on your foot and this picks it up. And then suddenly you go back and, oh yeah, by the way, I guess I did find it somehow. So as we look at the beginning of the analysis of these trays, let's just have a look if there's something else there that's going to jump out at us, okay? Okay, we now see that there is a little bit of a problem in the master branch of a blue zone. I'm trying to open that up, but it doesn't seem to open. Why is that? Broadcasting and doing multiple things at the same time might be an issue here, ladies, because this is working fine when I wasn't on screen. Normally I just tap that to open it, do I not? Well, let's just do a minute of us. I'm having a little technical troubles today, ladies. Don't worry. It's all a matter of learning curve, and all of us need to help each other about the subtleties of new technologies, new applications, new additional accessories. So, bear with us, and it's wise for each of you to come each week and learn a little bit each week so that we can all help each other and stratify, various different things. Now, how did I get up to a 59-minute hour therapy? I don't know. I just didn't see that come up, but I'm going to stop that. Okay. So what I'm trying to say is that going down the basics and then the deeper and then the rabbit hole, then the blockages, and then coming into the more troublesome zones is able to give us a much better chance of success. Okay. I'm just going to add on that library to our custom items. Okay. Now, when I go back down to this custom item here, we're going to quick balance it again. And now I've got the master branch libraries also on that tray. Okay. So let's back up a step. You can't make a mistake, but you can get confused if you don't have a personal decision about what is that client wanting to do today, because there's 10,000 items and we could go on tangents all over the place. And if you aren't attending to the client's issue at hand, then you're really not addressing their needs. So she's working on thyroid, she's working on weight management. Now I'm trying to get rid of the parasites that might be causing that, but we're going to have to work our way backwards a little bit to the pathogens that created this distortion. And that might take a couple of weeks to get rid of the yeast and the heavy metals that would unwind the thyroid stress. Okay. So let me just, I don't want to take, we're already at the hour is up. So I really think that maybe we could, yeah, somebody suggested here, Claire says, why don't you stop sharing your tablet, and we will be able to maybe see if the light works better. So I don't mind trying to do that. Let's just stop my share button here. Stop sharing. Okie dokie. So let's just try that while I'm here in front of you guys and see if that solves the issue. Okay. So we have our light on, first of all. Okay. First of all, you have to make sure that it's charged up. So when you click on the little button here, you should see the 3 buttons that show that you're fully charged. If not, then you take the charger that came with it. And it's very difficult to work this while it's plugged in. Okay. You have to charge it up, unplug it to make it free of its own battery charge. And after plugging it in, you get a 4-hour battery charge on that little pin plug here. Okay. So I would normally suggest to you that every time you finish working with this, you replug it in for another 4 hour and let it charge up well. Okay. So I'm just going to try that one more time. Turn on the red light here so that I know the power's on. And the blue light is flashing. It's so subtle, you can barely see it.
I can see it.
Now I go to my Bluetooth. Let's just see if it captures connections. Bluetooth. Bluetooth is on. It is paired to this device. It's connected for audio, it says. So should I be seeing a different command if it's for light? It is connected for audio. The audio is back on again, so I turned it off. And now let's hit the play button and see if it starts working that way. One more quick balance. Here we go. Okay, I'm gonna have to blame Zoom on this. Sorry, folks. It's not grabbing, but I'm off the Zoom now. So why would that be?
Is the volume up on your device?
Yes, it is. So the volume's high. The blue light's flashing. I didn't hold that white dot down any longer to see if I could capture. Let's try that. I'll just hold on to that and see if we can get the light to flash.
Kind of wave it in front of the aerial on your device.
What was that?
Try waving it closer to your device so it picks up the signal.
I'm waving it.
I can hear it.
Yeah, so it shouldn't be heard. So Connie, do we turn the Wi-Fi off when trying to use Bluetooth?
No,
No, you don't have to?
no. You need your
Okay.
Wi-Fi on when using.
Well, my demo has been a little bit of a flop, but that's technology for you folks. So we'll talk to you. I will figure this out maybe off screen. Next week, I'll come back and give you a bit of a better idea on that. But Margaret, if you're signing up for a 2-week free trial,
Yeah.
I'd like you to come on over here with your tablet and try that wristband on you and make sure that we're connected before you make sure that you're oriented with me, okay?
Okay, will do.
So in a nutshell, folks, the idea of biophotonic stimulation using PEMF combines the 3 elements together. And we've got about a 44% improvement on you now, okay? Now, I personally believe that your heavy metals are very detrimental to the yeast infection that's holding your insulin hostage. Remember, yeast infections, yeast plus B vitamins makes beer. So your pancreas is actually alcoholically induced to make a high and low blood sugar based on the alcohol made by the yeast. The yeast is clinging to the metals. The metals are in your thyroid, so you can't get your body's thermostatic temperature up to power in order to get a hot enzyme system. Remember, the thyroid runs your body exactly at 37.2 degrees. If you're even 1 degree below that, because of lead poisoning, mercury, infections, you cannot run your enzymes. The enzymes for cleaning in your body all run at the speed of 37.2 degrees. So with lead in the body or mercury blocking the thermostat to a low temperature, how can you burn off your weight when your metabolism is at half burner, half speed, half metabolism?
I have a quick question, Deb. Is mercury always through the teeth, or can we get mercury through our food or in other ways?
Mercury is in vaccines, especially the twin Rix A and B vaccine that was hepatitis A and B together. It's also in previous childhood vaccines. It's in mascara. People who gob on the mascara for their whole life don't realize they're putting mercury on their eyelashes.
Okay.
It also comes from, ground or soil or, other various locations. The most primary cause would be old fillings in the mouth, of course. And remember that the molars in the teeth drain to the thyroid, whereas where most people have the biggest fillings of the most metal in these molars. So you may have to get the molars removed into white or, porcelain or ceramic fillings to lower that one load of mercury out of the body. Okay. Remember, one filling poisons a 10-acre lake. So your body is trying to hold on to 10 acres of water and bloat you up to dilute the level of mercury in your body. So the moment we get rid of the mercury, the body starts, decompressing all that extra edema and body waters, etc. Okay, So I would like to suggest that, Margaret, you do have some issues that are going to need work, not just one off. You're going to start your 2-week free trial, and I'll supervise you. And if
Okay.
anybody else in the room here wants to start a 2-week free trial, please, seek the download at ilovemygenius.com. And there, if you want to use my affiliate number, it's /AFF equals 16. I'm the number 16 affiliate. Pardon me. And many of you are signing up for these free trials. So I'd like to do a 30-minute demo on all of you who wanted a free trial. I will get a little bit more carefully done on here, or we could do it on a Zoom room and you could take the audio instead of the photonic one. Okay. But I wanted to just take a second as we're leaving, and I'm just going to quickly do one last thing to end the session. And normally you would go back to the aura scan and see what has happened with all these corrections, and is the aura still doing well, or is it improved? So can you remember how she looked at first? It was quite purple. Now let's just do a retest. And this is something that I don't want you to go in and out of the aura 100 times. The aura does not like to be poked and prodded like a balloon. It likes to be opened up and have a peek, fill it all in with good old helium hot air, and then re-scan it. So you can see that she's turned into a bit of a gray zone where some sort of washout period. We haven't we've stirred up her soup, but we didn't clear it all. Okay. So this is an indication that she's not done yet, because she's still got some focal areas of consideration with a grayed out or less vibrant than when she started. Okay. Now,
There's an
Margaret, that
interesting
doesn't mean
point.
that doesn't mean
there's
that
an
you're going
also-
downhill. It just means that you're flushing yourself.
Right. And there was an interesting point too on my right knee there. The first scan, it was like a pinky color, and this time it's a blue. So there's something
Right.
going on with my right knee, which I had
Right.
no idea.
And I tend to really consider the minerals are all color coded. So zinc is red, tin is orange, yellow is sulfur, green is magnesium, light blue, memorize it, is copper for thyroiditis from gut infections. So when you see these light blue circles sticking out somewhere, she's got high copper in her knees, so that she's got inflammatory knee condition because of the excessive conductivity of the high copper. But why is she high in copper?
Yeah.
Normally it sits on the teeter-totter of zinc. So her zinc is low and her copper is high, and her thyroid is overdriven into a metabolic disturbance. Now, if we find out that she's got worms and parasites, and we go back and see that she's got a lot of worms stealing the zinc, then we could correct her thyroid by getting rid of the zinc thieves, and the copper would come back down. She might be more in balance that way. And I'm going to repeat this every week you ever hear me, because these are the things that I see over and over again. This morning, I took care of a gentleman, albeit he was drinking 6 beers a day, smoking 20 cigarettes a day, and had a heart attack, a bypass, stent surgery, a cholesterol drug, a beta blocker drug, and a cardiac drug. And he's still smoking and drinking like that. When I looked at his body, every single score was as toxic as you could get. So that's a guy who's going to take some time to clear out, right? He's not going to be able to get rid of his heart disease till he stops smoking sugar cubes with a sugar cube in every cigarette. And then he's drinking beer with 18 sugar cubes in a beer. So no wonder his blood sugar score was 400%. Now that's a very important element. When you see people have parasites in their gut, especially pancreatic fluke, pancreatic tapeworm, pancreatic amoebas, and especially candida, which produces nail polish remover called acetone, and it burns the islet cells of the pancreas where you make insulin. These are little fatty islands. And since acetone nail polish remover can take the nail polish and the fat off you, it's burning holes in your pancreas like Swiss cheese. So there's less insulin coming out. And therefore, when you're trying to lose weight, you need to get better insulin sufficiency. But what is the cofactor for insulin? Anybody? You can't drive any fats out of the blood into your mitochondria without magnesium, which is stolen by yeast, chromium, stolen by yeast, carnitine, stolen by yeast. So maybe she can't burn her fat because she's low in the chromium, carnitine, and magnesium, as the yeast is overwhelming her because of the heavy metals. So again, our bioterrain graph would suggest that she's up in quadrant 3 and oxidized and metallic and alkaline in her gut. How would we treat that? We would acidify her gut, get these parasites out of her, and get the acidic mercury out of her, and her body would drift back down into a more normal zone of bioterrain where she could lose weight easily without those impediments. Now, every person that I see is going to look like this. Almost every person I see who comes to see you is sick with something. They wouldn't be coming to see you otherwise. But you're going to find that 50% of the people have low minerals, usually from a poor thyroid due to a parasite in the gut stimulating the parathyroid to overtake the thyroid. Can I just reiterate on that? The thyroid drives calcium into your bones, and inside the thyroid is the 4 parathyroids that suck calcium out of your bones. So what is the main ingredient in inflammation is the calcium-driven cascade of immune ramping up. So if your body's inflamed somewhere, you shut your thyroid off and say, I need the calcium. I'm not going to put it back into my bones to store it. I'm going to use my parathyroids to suck the calcium out of my bones as an inflammatory cascade initiator. So pancreatitis for P, parasites P, parathyroid P, PPP. You're going to be inflamed if you have high calcium, infections in your pancreas, or your blood sugar is creating inflammation elsewhere in the body. Does that make sense?
Yeah, it does.
So to fix your low thyroid and your high parathyroid, we have to reverse that. Now, many people who have parasites don't show up in a blood test as Hazumi's just asked, does a low thyroid always show up in your blood test? No, because it's a range of 0.5 to 5. And what if your parasites have just sucked down to 0.1? The doctor doesn't say, oh, your thyroid's in a bad state. So you go home thinking you're fine. But in fact, you're being raped and pillaged for all those raw materials of the thyroid. And the thyroid works on multiple minerals. Just think about this. Zinc, tin, copper, nickel, cobalt, magnesium, sulfur, and iodine make your thyroid, as well as tyrosine and iodine, or tyrosine and glycine. You're low in tyrosine, you were low in iodine, you were low in zinc, tin, copper. Well, obviously you don't have enough minerals to warm up your thermostat. So who is stealing the minerals is more to my point, because most people are eating relatively well. Most people are taking vitamin D. If you're not, dump it up to 10,000 a day of vitamin D, especially during the world of COVID, which we proved that nobody died if their vitamin D level was over 80 milligrams per deciliter in the blood. And those who died of COVID had 20 milligrams per deciliter of vitamin D in their blood, meaning they didn't have any minerals to pull in the zinc to carry oxygen, and they got into great complications. So I would suggest to you that every single person that we put on the Genius should be on a very high dose of vitamin D and K to thin the blood, and some minerals and probiotics so that their normal flora gets more and more acidic. The minerals pull up, the body gets more flowing through the arteries and more oxygen to deliver and get rid of these toxic buildups in various organs, okay? Now, I know we've kind of gone over time here today, guys. I could talk to you every day, all day. I could never run out of good things to say about this, but I'm going to see you each week now, and I'm going to try and take on a case study and try to let you see some of my thought patterns as a biochemist as to where you might notice. The yeast always steal serotonin. The worms always steal dopamine, right? If you saw that the amoeba always caused thyroiditis, and you got people coming into you with congestive heart failure and tachycardia and high copper induced heart, then giving them 5 heart drugs is not going to stop the hyperthyroidism that's overdriving their heart, right? You've got to go down into the gut usually where there's some kind of a parasite stealing the metabolic control. And it's either the zinc and vitamin C stolen out of the adrenals and the prostate in men, causing prostatitis, gray hair, big belly, bad attitude, low testosterone, low muscles. The testosterone muscles of your shoulder are weak. Well, the guys who come in like that, no matter how many blood pressure pills you put them on, if you don't fix that thyroid, the parathyroid, the prostate, their adrenals, their endocrine glands will not allow you to overdrive them with drugs for high blood pressure. Your body will just overcompensate for the drug. So my goal to teach you all of this each week is to say, forget the symptoms. It's the root cause that this device, the Genius, is so good at revealing, because it's telling you where the hidden things are in red or blue. It's allowing you to reduce them to see if you feel better. And it's also giving you the same repertoire of remedies that will also address that. You have the flower essences. You have the, if you use the bioterrain, you have the anti-parasitic agents. You can use electromagnetic field therapy, nutrition therapy, meridian therapy. One way or the other, your goal is to increase flow and reduce toxicity. And every day you strip mine a little bit out of the body, a little bit better, it's going to get more and more resilient, and it's going to have more chance to heal its own wounds, okay? I don't heal your wounds. I relieve the insults and the interference with your normal processes, and then your body normally, naturally would heal itself. Now, I'm just going to pop open the question board here, okay? And just before we get going, if you have to jump off, I don't blame you here. I'm going a little overtime, but if you use the bioterrain primer, it would cover all of this. Yes, that's true. In our bioterrain graph or our bioterrain library, we put a very heavy set, beautiful primer to start each session off with all of the natural ingredients that you would need to bake a cake, okay? My Bluetooth might be in flight mode. What's flight mode? I didn't know that. I'm not in flight mode. I see that. Dr. Drake, is yeast controlling the mercury? Then how would we know if we should use to pull candida out in the master parasite? It seems we should know about mercury toxicity. Yes, it is true that I like to do them both together, because as you're killing the yeast, it will release more mercury, and I always drive those two modules together simultaneously. If you're very, very ill, you have to support the adrenals, the kidney, and the liver, which are what dump the mercury out of you. So if you're going to do a big mercury detox, make sure there's open liver and kidney, which use sulfur to neutralize metals called N-acetylcysteine, and vitamin C and quercetin. So if you have any desire to detox somebody, pump up the volume on all of their good juicy sulfur remedies, because sulfur and glutathione and quercetin and N-acetylcysteine, or nat sulf, which is a natural homeopathic parasite killer, these sulfur ingredients really help grab that mercury and send it out the exits, okay? And I said this last week, but I'll just reiterate, mercury 3+ is what's toxic. It's like, it holds on to you like a fork with its gripping 3+. If you add in an antioxidant like vitamin C, it neutralizes the plus, 2+, 1+. Now it's mercury neutral. Now a neutral molecule can flow through a lipid neutral membrane. And what's your brain made out of? Fat. Where's the mercury stored? In the brain. Your brain is made of fat, made of a fat filter called the liver. So you have to suck the mercury out of your brain into your liver and then kick it out of your liver to your kidney. So you need to actually have a lot of fatty acids and a lot of fluids and good sulfur in your liver to drag that mess down into the liver. Secondly, nobody can stand mercury poisoning. I mean, I've had it. I almost died of it, okay? I had 18 fillings in my mouth removed in one weekend, and I went into a crash. It knocked my adrenals into complete submission. I flew down to Barbados, and I lay in the ocean water for 2 weeks, just in the salt water, to try and catch up with myself. So the general rule of thumb is 2 weeks of mercury detox, 2 weeks of rest, 2 more weeks of mercury detox, 2 more weeks of rest, 2 more weeks of mercury, 2 more weeks of rest. Do it 4 times maybe. And the whole reservoir should come down by then without causing massive migraines, kidney stones, aching in your liver, nausea, chills, hair falling out, whatever you're going to be doing. You don't want to create a worsening situation here. Now, the negative comment I have to make is that yeast is such a stubborn bug that it tends to live in the body 18 months for a life cycle. Now, most people think they could clear out their yeast in a month. Well, that's somebody who just got, a yeast infection last week from a vaginal contact on their honeymoon or something, but they didn't have it embedded in their bone marrow, in their colon, in their teeth, in their skin, in their toenail fungus or whatever. So I want you to be really careful of making promises that you're going to clean up somebody from yeast in one sitting. It's going to have to take strip mining over time, okay? So I think some of the frequencies are so low it's not flashing. That's conceivable, possible. It was working when you held it up just a little bit between flashes. Yes, Zoom doesn't like working with Genius scans. Be prepared to have a glitch. low thyroid and parasites show up as low thyroid. You know, I wanted to mention this one question from Hozumi. Low thyroid is a sign usually of yeast, which sucks the thyroid minerals out of you, especially magnesium, calcium, copper, and whatnot. But amoeba poisoning is classic for causing hyperthyroid. So hyperthyrotoxicosis can make people psychotic, okay? You'll notice that many rape victims have fluke after the rape. The fluke creates a hyperthyroidism. The client goes into a toxic and psychotic state, and everybody goes, there, you just need psychotherapy for your rape. No, they were infectiously infected with a fluke during that rape, and that fluke is causing their thyroiditis, making them crazy and unable to get through therapy. And these therapists are doing 25 years of psychotherapy on somebody who's been incested. Well, what about taking out the fluke from that original culprit? Okay, so I want you to be very suspicious of flukes or amoebas, and even tapeworm, which happens to have a massive hunger for calcium. Remember, the bicarbonate in the pancreas is made of calcium bicarbonate. Well, as these funguses, parasites in the pancreas, the tapeworm, the fluke worm, the roundworm, the pinworm, the amoebas, they suck out all the calcium for calcium bicarbonate in the pancreas, which is what sometimes causes gushing diarrhea. So I want you to think about the fact that no organ is ever without a mineral. And my goal in the next year is to teach you one mineral for every organ, so that as soon as you see that you're low in a certain mineral, you know that that's what bug is must be in you. If I see that she's low in chromium, I know she's got candida. It's the bug that steals all the chromium out of you. If I see that she's low in zinc, I know there's got to be a worm somewhere, right? So if you start learning some of these little tricks, you'll be able to say, you know, she may have many bugs, but the one that's sucking her empty is this one bigger bug. The bigger the colony, the bigger its appetite, the more minerals it's going to steal. So the bigger tapeworms, the bigger colony of fungus, they're likely to steal more minerals over time. What is the source for frequency numbers? Is there a book of ones already listed? Jackie, there is a list of frequency codes in various places in the world. There is the FREX software from the military. There is the book by, let me just show you that, 1 second. You can also go to royalrife.com. You can also check out this book. Can you read that? Yep. Rife Handbook, okay? That's by Nina Silver. This book is out of print. If you can never get your hands on one, go for it. It's got every major frequency and what disease and how to do it. It's really well done. In addition, as I mentioned, the frequencies in this computer are additionally augmented with verbal, I'm not quite sure the word is, it's hololinguistic programming, where every letter in every alphabet has a frequency, and a word then would have a collection of frequencies. So you could write the word down, you know, Candida, and the computer will also give you not just the frequency codes of Rife, but the other elements that are related to the verbal word of Candida. Okay. Lisa, thanks for a great class. I could listen to you all day. Great. I'm glad to hear it. I'm hoping that your class, that you guys are learning a little bit from me each day. You know, I have a wealth of knowledge in this little head of mine, but I'm trying to redirect it in streams to you that don't overwhelm you. And if we could pick up a few topics each week and keep on track, then you're going to learn a lot from me over the next coming months about how you can get a better chemistry knowledge of the body. Once you have that, you have everything. You can't beat the chemistry of the body. And if you guys like this class and you want to refer anybody, I strongly recommend that you get some people doing, you know, more demos, more referrals using your link in your back office. All of you who are in I Love My Genius have a link in there. You can invite others to our system so we can make this spread around the world. And of course, I would love to buy 1,000 of these things and put it on 1,000 people and do a big study. Wouldn't that be amazing if we could take diabetics and see if they all disappeared when we took all their tapeworms away? Wouldn't that be a blow to the, you know, the negative system at hand that's not really looking at the root cause and looking for symptom management only? Now, I'm trying to be very politically correct with you guys so that we stay on YouTube. There's a lot of controversial things that I could say, but I won't. And if you need to have a crazy situation taken care of, you can always consult with me individually if there's something that you don't want to put out in public on these sessions here. But I want to thank Connie, and I want to thank Claire and especially Denise and Kayla for being a support system to me, helping me learn this technology, and for helping me become a teacher to you. And of course, I'm learning as we go, so we're all learning together. There's no mistakes. We're all going to be just fine once we get a little bit more finesse about how to work around some of these cases. So on that note, I don't want to keep you too much longer. I'm feeling a little badly. I've kept you today, but I know that you're sticking around because you're learning something and you want to. So if you're going to sign off today, give me a 7 in the chat bar if you got some good information out of today. And if there's any topics that you want me to particularly address, you can let them in the chat box. I am going to go through every different organ, one organ of the month, every month for the next year. I want you to, by the end of next year, to be able to handle any problem of any organ of any kind by learning the chemistry of each organ and which bugs tend to affect that organ. And I have a feeling that you're going to be very pleased with all the things that you're going to learn. Of course, heavy metal toxicity is a total topic unto itself. And I might even have to do a full class on that as suggested here from Jackie. And that will be on my schedule as soon as we can get there, okay? So I love you all. I want you to send a happy Thanksgiving Canada style out to all your friends and family and give somebody you love today a hug. How about giving yourself a hug? In fact, I learned that when you hug yourself like this, you're touching all the acupuncture points for self-love, okay? So let's go on and we'll see you next time. Next Tuesday, 1 o'clock, we'll do another case study. Any of you who want to sign up for the 2-week free Genius trial, either talk to me and I'll give you the exact link, or you can go to ilovemygenius.com/AFF=16. That's me, okay? And I'll talk to you soon. I love you all. Take care. God bless you all and stay well. The world is going on a tilt, so you have to be steady up the middle. Don't let anybody put you off your game. Don't engage in negativity. Don't engage in fear mongering. The world is being supported by extraterrestrials, the Galactic Federation of Light. The sunbursts are coming. The gamma waves are raising our consciousness. We need to realize that some purging of old negativity, even in the world of politics, is necessary to get in balance. But we are going to get there. So don't panic. Stay home. Stock up some food and make sure that you know how to take care of yourself with self-care using your genius. So it doesn't matter what happens in the world, your family and you are protected. And that's my spiel for today, guys. God bless you all, and we'll see you soon.
Thank you very much, Deb. God bless you.
Pleasure's all mine. Adios, amigos.
Dr. Deb, it's Claire here.